What's up, everyone? Freddie Smith here. As you can see, I'm rocking my math hat because I have been such a huge supporter of Andrew Yang, the Democratic presidential candidate for 2020. I first saw him or became aware of him through Joe Rogan's podcast, I want to say maybe March or April of 2019, and I've been watching him continue to pick up steam. And at this very moment, on July 27th, in some polls, he's polling over 3%, and he's going to be on the debate stage here next week. But I have absolutely loved his policies. I love his vision. I love his mission and everything about Andrew Yang. I have really spent many hours watching his journey and really digging into his policies and everything that he stands for, and I absolutely support him and his ideas. I think they're amazing. And even with math, he's all about the numbers. And I encourage everyone to do your research, Google Andrew Yang to hear his story. I just want to talk about one of his biggest policies, which is the Freedom Dividend. But if you go to yang2020.com, he has all of his policies listed. They're so well thought out. He is thinking about everyone. He wants to put humanity first, which is huge. And I really like how he is talking about not only the economic growth that we're having, that we can't use that as a gauge when it comes to how we're doing as people, that's more important about our mental health and how we're prospering in this world. And as we continue to evolve with technology, his biggest thing that he talks about is that automation is going to automate away so many jobs that the average American works, from truck driving to call centers to retail. And back when manufacturing jobs were displaced, many people were out of work, and what that created, and he sees that coming in the near future with self-driving cars and trucks. So he wants to get ahead of this. So he wants to implement something called the Freedom Dividend, which is going to give every adult 18 and older $1,000 a month. No questions asked, free and clear. And I at first was like, wow, that would be awesome. But after digging into it, I want to read you from the website. So it's coming from, not just my opinion, but I want to read from the website what that's all about. And I will start with that just in a second. But I just love that in a time where we're so polarized, I love that he says that he's not left, he's not right, he's forward. And I just feel like that is what we need right now. And he, even like a year ago, I said, why doesn't the president or a president in general just get on stage with a dry erase board and actually like talk about things and show things? And he even said that he wanted to get like a PowerPoint. He's all about the math. And he tweeted this a little while ago. He goes, turns out math can stand for a few things: make America think harder, move America towards humanity, make American truckers hopeful, because there are 3.5 million truckers that are going to be losing their job in the next decade due to self-driving trucks. And he's talking about the malls that are empty. I know where I grew up in Ashtabula, the mall is not a mall. It's basically just like a JCPenney with like thousands of square feet of like literally nothing. Like everything's out of business, and Amazon is going to continue, as Andrew Yang says, suck up $20 billion of retail over the next years that are coming, because everyone's ordering on Amazon because it's convenient and it's fast. So instead of trying to slow down and be on the defense, let's get on the offense and see what we can do to help every single person be able to live in this new world, because that's what I believe needs to be talked about. Is we can't be looking back at 2002 or 1965 or 1975 of how things were. Technology is not going anywhere. AI is coming. Everything's coming, and I think we should embrace the benefits. But if we don't put something in place like making humanity first, people will be left behind. The wealth gap is going to continue to grow. So there's got to be something that can be done. And I just love that Andrew Yang does not talk about problems. He talks about solutions. And that's why I didn't grow up political at all. I literally had no interest in politics until about 2 years ago. So I came in not having a side, not having any, I just completely, as a fresh wanting to learn mind, have been watching everything going on the past 2 years. I've been looking at different candidates. I've been paying attention to what's happening. And from an outsider coming in for the first time, like I said, I've just seen everything go on, and I see Andrew Yang come along here, and I think he could be great, and so many people don't know about him yet, but they're going to, and I've just been championing him for the past few months now. So I wanted to really get into the Freedom Dividend and let everyone know what's on the website. You can check it out for yourself, Yang 2020. But let me talk about this the Freedom Dividend. So what is it? The Freedom Dividend is a form of universal basic income, UBI, a type of social security that guarantees a certain amount of money to every citizen within a given governed population without having to pass a test or fulfill a work requirement. Every UBI plan can be different in terms of amount or design. Andrew Yang is running for president as a Democrat in 2020 to implement the Freedom Dividend. This form of UBI, he is proposing for the United States to set a guaranteed payment of $1,000 per month or $12,000 per year to all U.S. citizens over the age of 18. Yes, that means you and everyone you know would get another $1,000 every month from the U.S. government, no questions asked. Why does Andrew Yang want to implement the Freedom Dividend? Andrew Yang wants to implement the Freedom Dividend because we are experiencing the greatest technological shift the world has ever seen. By 2015, automation had already destroyed 4 million manufacturing jobs, and the smartest people in the world now predict that a third of all working Americans will lose their job to automation in the next 12 years. Our current policies are not equipped to handle this crisis. Even our most forward-thinking politicians are unprepared. As technology improves, workers will be able to stop doing the most dangerous, repetitive, and boring jobs. This should excite us, but if Americans have no source of income, no ability to pay for groceries, buy homes, save for education, or start families with confidence, then the future could be very dark. Our labor participation rate now is only 62.7%, lower than it's been in decades, with 1 out of 5 working age men currently out of the workforce. This will get much worse as self-driving cars and other technologies come online. The Freedom Dividend, funded by a simple value-added tax, would guarantee that all Americans benefit from the automation, not just big companies. The Freedom Dividend would provide money to cover the basics for Americans while enabling us to look for a better job, start our own business, go back to school, take care of our loved ones, or work towards the next opportunity. Who would get the Freedom Dividend in Andrew Yang's plan? Every U.S. citizen from over the age of 18 will receive $1,000 a month, regardless of income or employment status, free and clear. No jumping through hoops. Yes, this means that you and everyone you know would receive a check for $1,000 a month starting January 2021. What would you do with $1,000 a month on top of whatever you make now? Let's find out. How would we pay for the Freedom Dividend? It would be easier than you might think. Andrew proposes funding the Freedom Dividend by consolidating some welfare programs and implementing a value-added tax of 10%. Current welfare and social program beneficiaries would be given a choice between their current benefits or the $1,000 cash unconditionally. Most would prefer the cash with no restrictions, because with welfare and with disability, there are restrictions that if you do get better, disability goes away. If you make a certain amount, I believe your welfare can go away. So people are kind of caught with, well, do I continue to grow and lose this? And they go back and forth. This is $1,000 regardless of anything. It's just a right of being a U.S. citizen that we get a Freedom Dividend. The value-added tax is a tax on the productions of goods or services a business produces. It is a fair tax, and it makes it much harder for large corporations who are experts at hiding profits and income to avoid paying their fair share. A VAT is nothing new. 160 out of 193 countries in the world already have a value-added tax or something similar, including all of Europe, which has an average value-added tax of 20%. This means the means to pay for the Freedom Dividend will come from 4 sources. Here they are. Number 1, current spending. We currently spend between $500 and $600 billion a year on welfare programs, food stamps, disability, and the like. This reduces the cost of the Freedom Dividend because people are already receiving benefits who would have a choice, but would be ineligible to receive the full $1,000 in addition to the current benefits. Additionally, we currently spend over $1 trillion on healthcare, incarceration, homelessness services, and the like. We would save 1 to 200 plus billion as people would take better care of themselves and avoid the emergency room, jail, and the street, and would generally be more functional. The Freedom Dividend would pay for itself by helping people avoid our institutions, which is when our costs shoot up. Some studies have shown that $1 to a poor parent will result in as much as $7 in cost savings of economic growth. A VAT. Our economy is now incredibly vast at 19 trillion, up 4 trillion in the last 10 years alone. A VAT at half the European level would generate 800 billion in new revenue. A VAT will become more and more important as technology improves because you cannot collect income tax from robots or software. Number 3, new revenue. Putting money into the hands of American consumers would grow the economy. The Roosevelt Institute projected that the economy would grow by approximately 2.5 trillion and create 4.6 million new jobs. This would generate approximately 800 to 900 billion in new revenue from economic growth and activity. And this is something that he even mentioned too. When I think about my hometown, Ashtabula's got about 20,000 people. Let's say they're all adults. If you put $1,000 in the hands of every single person in Ashtabula itself, that is $20 million a month being injected into that community. People are going to be able to hire new people. People are going to be able to start new jobs. They're going to be able to volunteer. It's going to really make these communities around the world boom and give somebody that extra little something to go out there and do that. Number 4, taxes on the top earners and population. By removing the Social Security cap, implementing a financial transaction tax, and ending the favorable tax treatment for capital gains, carried interest, we can decrease financial speculation while also funding the Freedom Dividend. We can add to that a carbon fee that will be partially dedicated to funding the Freedom Dividend, making up the remaining balance required to cover the cost of this program, because I believe it's about 2 to 3 trillion. So with all of this said, if he's able to implement all this, it would be able to pay for it, which is going to be great. What are the benefits of the Freedom Dividend? I'll just read a few of these. UBI encourages people to find work. Many current welfare programs take away benefits when recipients find work, sometimes leaving them financially worse off than before they were employed. UBI is for all adults, regardless of employment status. UBI reduces bureaucracy. With no strings attached coverage, determining who is eligible is far simpler, and the cost of administrating benefits is greatly reduced. So easy peasy. If you're an American citizen, boom, you get $1,000. UBI increases entrepreneurship, which me and Alyssa, if we each got an extra $1,000 as being an American citizen here, $2,000 in our household, what we could do to help the podcast, to help videos, to start a business, to hire people. There are so many things, and that's just what we're doing from home. Imagine what it could do for the entrepreneurial world in general, but I really relate to that one. It provides basic needs in the early lean days of a company and acts as a safety net if the business fails. It also gives you more consumers to sell to because everyone has more disposable income. UBI improves the mental health of recipients because it reduces conditions of scarcity, poverty, and financial insecurity, major sources of stress for millions of people. And I think there's like 60, 70%, depending on which article you read, of Americans that cannot afford a $500 unexpected bill. So imagine pumping $1,000 into the hands of every American. Imagine those who are married, who have maybe an 18-year-old and a 21-year-old still living in the household. That's $4,000 a month in that household. This would alleviate so much stress and allow people to be creative and a little more happy, and be able to find what they're passionate about, which is great. Would it stack with Social Security or veterans' disability benefits? Those who served our country are facing a disability because of it will continue to receive their benefits on top of the Freedom Dividend. Social Security retirement benefits stack with the Freedom Dividend. Since it is a benefit that people pay into throughout their lives, that money is properly viewed as belonging to them, and they shouldn't need to choose. That's awesome. There's more to this as well, but I'm going to move on to the next one. Is there evidence to support the case of a Freedom Dividend? Experiments with unconditional cash benefits around the world have proven to be one of the most successful ways of reducing poverty. The fear that cash recipients would waste their money on drugs or alcohol, stop working, or have more kids has been disproved by the World Bank. Many of these behaviors were actually reduced. Since 1998, there has been a total of 461 research papers published on this topic, and you can view them here, which is a clickable link. In the last 50 years, there has been more than 30 cash transfer programs studied. Here are a few of our favorites. He goes on to those that are studied. I don't know if he mentions it here, but I'm sure he will. I'm not going to jump ahead here. Here's another one. I've never heard of the Freedom Dividend or Universal Basic Income. Where did it come from and who supports it? The idea of guaranteeing every citizen an income from the government is an old one, first recorded during the Renaissance. In America, it was picked up by founding father Thomas Paine, who referred to the payments as natural inheritance. UBI and similar cash programs began picking up steam in the mid-20th century during the Industrial Revolution as early as 1918. With developed countries producing more than ever, the idea resurfaced with intensity, being backed by numerous Nobel Prize-winning economists such as Milton Friedman and F.A. Hayek. Hope I'm saying that right. In the 1960s, Martin Luther King Jr. gave his support alongside over 1,000 economists from over 125 universities who signed a letter to President Nixon requesting income guarantees. And there's much more on that as well. Why do we need the Freedom Dividend now? Since 2000, technology has replaced the jobs of 4 million American manufacturing workers and decimated communities throughout the Midwest. With new developments in technology, experts are predicting that 1 out of 3 Americans will lose their job to new technology in the next 12 years. Truck driving alone is the most common job in 29 states with 3.5 million drivers, 94% who are male, and an additional 12 million workers supporting them at truck stops, motels across the countries. What happens when the trucks start driving themselves? We are experiencing the greatest economic and technological shift in human history, and our institutions can't keep up. Without the Freedom Dividend, we will see opportunities shrink as more and more work gets performed by software, AI, and robots. Markets don't work well when people don't have any money to spend. The Freedom Dividend is a vital step to helping society transform through the greatest automation wave in human history. Won't people stop working? Now, let's see what they say for this one, which I totally disagree. I think just having extra money is going to allow people to do more stuff. Decades of research on cash transfer programs has found that only people who work fewer hours when given direct cash transfers are new mothers and kids in school. In several studies, high school graduation rates rose. In some cases, people even work more. Quoting a Harvard and MIT study, we find no effects of cash transfers on work behavior. Why would you want to give the Freedom Dividend to the rich? By giving everyone the Freedom Dividend, the stigma for accepting the cash transfers from the government disappears. Additionally, it removes the incentive for anyone to remain within a certain income bracket to receive benefits. If it's paid by the value-added tax in Andrew's plan, a wealthy person will likely pay more into the system than he or she gets out of it. And you could also donate it. If someone's making so much money and they want to donate back the $1,000, that's going to be super cool. Why can't we, here's another big one that they ask all the time, why can't we just retrain people who lose their jobs? This would be great, but unfortunately the data indicates that retraining programs do not work on a large scale. The Trade Adjustment Assistance, the TAA program, a federal program for displaced manufacturer workers, was found to have only 30% of its program members working in the field of work they were retrained for. Michigan's No Worker Left Behind program found that 1/3 of its members remained unemployed after the program, similar to the 40% unemployed rate of their peers who did not enroll. About half of all Michigan workers who left the workforce between 2003 and 2013 went on disability and were not retrained for a new job. This goes on to explain more. I don't see robots. Isn't this early? No, robots aren't when some walking, talking robot comes knocking on your door. It's when software replaces thousands of help desk workers, or cars start driving themselves, or even when a mall closes down because now everyone shops from their computers. is the Freedom Dividend is so great. Why haven't we done it already? We came very close in the 1960s. It actually passed the House of Representatives in 1969 before stalling in the Senate because Democrats wanted a higher floor. 1,000 economists signed a letter saying that it would be the right thing for the economy. Since then, we've been brainwashed into thinking that what's good for people isn't good for the economy, but what serves big corporate interests is. The reason that we haven't done it yet is because we'd rather give money to wealthy corporations and hope it trickles down. We trust institutions more than we trust our people. This is what must change. We must empower our people and rebuild our economy from each individual family up. Will this lead to mass immigration in the United States? America has been the world's most desired immigration destination for 250 years. High demand for citizenship is not new. It's true that with the Freedom Dividend in place, the demand for citizenship may rise. However, only citizens can receive the Freedom Dividend, and the U.S. already has one of the longest paths to citizenship in the world. The Freedom Dividend would make citizenship all more meaningful. Isn't it, so the last three here, isn't this communism socialism? No, communism is, by definition, a revolutionary movement to create a classless, moneyless, and stateless social order built upon shared ownership of production. With socialism, the core principle is the nationalization of the means of production, i.e. the government seizes Amazon and Google. The Freedom Dividend is none of those things and actually fits so seamlessly into capitalism. It is projected to grow the economy $2.5 trillion in the next 8 years. Wouldn't employers just start paying less? Employers are already paying their employees less for doing more. Corporate productivity is up 72% since 1973, but American wages are up only 9%. UBI would put the power in the hands of workers with consistent, unconditional cash to cover their expenses. Americans will be able to be more selective about working conditions and what they're willing to accept. This all sounds great. What can I do to make it happen? And that's at the end. It says, join the fight, I'm in, and you can put in your email if you wanted to donate to help the campaign. But I would recommend, if you're interested, if you've made it this far, that you're obviously interested in maybe hearing more. I'm going to continue to watch his campaign. I'm going to continue to support because I really think this is what we need. We need something new and fresh and something that's 2019, 2020, 2021. Everything is changing. We need to embrace the technological changes. And I really think Andrew Yang is the person for the job. And this is the Freedom Dividend broken down of some of the major questions that we get. And I truly think it would really help a lot of people. But I'm so curious about your comments. Please leave comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, liking it would be absolutely phenomenal. It really helps the YouTube algorithm. And if you want to hear more videos, we touch on so many different topics. Give me a subscribe. Give Alyssa a subscribe, my fiance. It would mean the world to us to continue to support us here. And we'll continue to bring you more news. And but yeah, again, it's Yang 2020. Check out Andrew Yang for president. I think you're really going to like his policies and you're really going to like him as a person. He has some really great ideas. So thank you so much for your time, and I'll talk to you soon.